Hi, everybody. It's Michelle Jackson. I am here again to speak with you about something that is very important to me, and that is marketing. And so we are hosting this Pen Posse Roundtable with a host of our amazing writers from the page to talk about building blogs and e-newsletters. And so that's what today is all about. And I hope that everyone out there can hear me and is interested in being a part of this conversation by adding your insight as well as your experiences writing blogs and e-newsletters. And our goal with everything that we're doing is making sure that you have the type of marketing tools that you need in your toolbox in order to be successful as a new or independent author. Now, many people may say, well, I never thought about starting a blog, or I never thought about creating an e-newsletter. What is that going to do for me? Well, there are a lot of things that it can do for you. One is to help you to get a higher rank on Google. That's one of the key things that we want to talk to you about. Secondly, is it helps you to broaden your reach when it comes to finding your fans, new fans, as well as connecting with old fans. These are tools that are very useful because it allows us to use our gift of writing in order to connect with our audience and to share our books with a broader audience. It also helps us to be found easier on Google and some of the other platforms, because once you blog, depending on the type of platform that you use, or once you're sending out those e-newsletters, you are now, especially with the blogs, you are now in a situation where your SEO is better positioned and you can reach more people and get more people to look at your website, to look at your author pages, to look at your books, and hopefully to purchase your book. So we have an amazing group today, but before we get to them, I want to make sure that everyone knows a couple of things. One, you can always ask questions. So you can drop those questions in the comment area if you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook. If you are a follower of our podcast, we will upload this particular session to our podcast later today. If you're on Instagram and Twitter, we will also put clips of this particular event on those platforms as well. But if you are on Facebook, please go to author Michelle D. Jackson to find a shareable version and share it on your page. That will help us to optimize the number of people who can hear us and see us, and that's exactly what we want to do. So we're going to bring on the screen our panelists. Reggie?
Hello.
Reggie, can you hear me clearly?
I sure can.
Great. We have Roana, who is new with the group. I'm really excited. She's from Queens, New York. She just dropped a book recently, and we're going to learn a little bit more about that.
Hi, everyone.
And we have Alvinia, who's been with us in the past, and so we're really excited to have her as well. And Alvinia, where are you calling in from?
I'm actually in Los Angeles right now because I'm going to go to my coffee shop in a minute.
Okay, sounds great. So everybody, we're here to talk about a topic that I think is very important, and that is marketing. Okay, we are all book publishers, and we are doing this because we love writing, but we're also doing this because we want to make money, right? We want to make money. We want people to buy our work. I mean, it's just plain and simple. We can dance around it and talk about how much we love literature, and we do. But at the end of the day, we're not publishing books solely because we only want people to read them. We want people to buy them and read them and tell people about our great work. So we're going to talk about blogs and e-newsletters, but we're going to talk about also marketing as a whole, because I think this is a conversation that needs to be had, especially when it comes to our self-published authors, because when you self-publish a book, you are literally taking ownership of everything that's happening, right? You are writing the book, possibly doing the cover or hiring someone to do it. You're having to hire an editor, writing consultants, someone possibly to lay it out. You've got to understand how to get that book out there as an ebook, as well as how to get it out there as a hard copy or paperback book. And you have to market your books. So everyone on this screen is someone who is familiar with the process of marketing a book and who's had to do the legwork. So this is probably not the best roundtable for those of you who dropped the book and who say, I'm an introvert and I'm just gonna let Amazon sell it for me. Right? Not gonna happen. Anybody want to CCO? It's not gonna happen. I tell people all the time, when you put a book on Amazon, you are competing with the Bible. Think about that, right? You're competing with everybody. So you have to do something that's going to make your book and make you as an author stand out, because there are millions of books out there. And I even read that every day, 2,700 self-published books are dropped. 2,700 every day.
Wow.
Think about that. So when you're thinking about marketing your book and being successful in this publishing game, and you're taking it on as a self-published author, you are actually saying that you are now, not only are you an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, but you are also a marketer. And if you never thought about that in the past, this is a great time to think about it. So Reggie, tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your marketing, and then we're going to go around so that everyone can get a chance to introduce themselves. We have someone else who will be popping in a second. Tanika, waiting on her. When she comes on the screen, we're going to add her and get to know her as well. So Reggie, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Thank you. Once again, I always say it's good to be invited somewhere, but it's always great to be invited back. So I've been invited back a couple of times. My name is Reggie Williams. As you can see, I'm an author of a book called The Marginalized Voice, which talks about the behaviors or the things that Black boys must face on a daily basis that creates the egregious behavior that you oftentimes find in them. Also publisher of Callista Casey Publishing, and that's a combination of my grandmother's first name and my grandfather's first name. I'm a behavioral health consultant. I deal with high-risk clients in terms of just some behaviors that they're in. And Michelle is absolutely right in terms of marketing. There's a thing I say that if you are an authentic author, like an author who's really trying to do this, that means that you wake up every day unemployed, right? Because every day you have to do something to create some interest in your book that will attract people and have them ask. I always say, don't ask someone to sell. Hey, can I always say, don't try to sell your book. Ask them to make it so interesting that they want to buy your book. I'm stumbling here, but one of the things that I do is, again, I dropped my book right in the middle of the pandemic, March 19th, 2020. I had already had tours set up, places to stop by, and it fell apart with COVID. So I had to pivot, and I had to begin to use social media. I had to begin to use platforms like Michelle's Writer's Workspace. So in this thing, my whole marketing scheme is about building a tribe, one person at a time. And if you solving a problem with your book and you can prove that you're solving that problem, oftentimes your readers will become your tribe and they'll push your book for you. I seem like I'm mumbling on, so I'm going to stop right there.
No, actually, we love having Reggie here. He is the voice of reason for all of us. He's done such a great job of not only promoting his book, but promoting himself. He is what I call a master marketer, because Reggie does these things that, many of us don't think about. Like his subject line in his emails are exactly, he's got a t-shirt on. His book tip is typically in the corner of his page when we're on Zoom, and his, handles are in the back. He will, on his subject line, on his emails, there's a huge picture of Reggie, and he is constantly talking about not writing his book, but he's branding himself as a subject matter expert in his field. And that's what eNewsletters and blogging can help you to do. Because once people see you as a subject matter expert, let's say you write nonfiction and it's Christian based, we buy what we trust. So you have to prove to us that you are knowledgeable, okay? And so once you prove that, then people will possibly be interested in what you're writing about. So that's some of the things that he's very good at, and I think we have a lot to learn from him. Alvina, talk to us about your publishing and your marketing.
I'm Alvinia Key. I am a author. I have two books actually. I have a children's book that I did for my son, which is now 3 years old, and the book is called Frank's Little Colorful Zoo Adventure, and he's learning his colors and the zoo animals. And then I have my first book that I came out with in 2016, which is called Love or the Illusions of Love. And I basically wrote the book to talk about my relationships and trying to help another young woman out, basically. And now I am currently working on my third book, which is a follow up to the Love or the Illusions books. And it's basically talking about how I moved from California to Georgia, dealing with postpartum depression, having my son, not having family. And it's just to uplift other women and to show my transition and how I can help them out as well through my story.
Excellent. And Alvinia has been with us as well in the past. So she brings a great deal of knowledge around marketing, around books. Not only that, but what I love about Alvinia is that she comes from a very honest place in her work. And like I said, people buy who they trust and what they trust. And so when you are being authentic in your work, that is excellent. People see that and they want to get to know you. They want to get to know the artistry behind you. And so once again, that's where the blogging and the newsletter can kick in, because now you have a way to share more of who you are with the world through marketing tools that aren't very expensive, but will require you to put some time and energy into it. I'm sorry, my cat just jumped across me. That was funny. Okay, you scared me. All right, now we have Roana, this is her first time with us, and she's going to share with us about her book and about her marketing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Roana Evans. I'm the founder of Spoken Black Girl Publishing, which started as my personal blog in 2015. And by the summer of 2016, I was fed up with my 9-to-5, which was at a magazine. I felt that I could do a better job just expressing the concerns of the Black community, especially Black women. I'm a mental health advocate. So I'm really passionate about helping Black women tell their stories about mental health, wellness, just different things that they've encountered along their journey so that they can then, inspire someone else and else's healing. So I've been doing that through Spoken Black Girl magazine, which is on its third issue now. And recently, I was able to publish my first novel, Departure Story, which is a coming-of-age novel about a young woman from the Caribbean who immigrates to the U.S. to go to school, and just having that culture clash, while also, coming to know what it is to be a Black woman. So that is me. I've been working in marketing, nonprofit, and publishing basically since I graduated from college. So not only, writing in my own voice, but writing for other brands and organizations has been in my wheelbox for a while now. And I hope that I can share something of value with you all.
Excellent. Thank you so much for being a part of the Pen Posse. And, I'm loving how so many magazines are spinning out of, our authors. Magazines are interesting because we know the industry was hit hard with the internet. So hard copy magazines have been something that has been really tough to come by. Even Oprah stopped printing hers. I don't know if she completely stopped printing, but she's not printed as often as possible, as often as she was in the past. And that's O Magazine. She had plenty of advertisers, but we're a community, we're a nation now. We want to get our news quickly. We want to digest things really cleanly and sharply. And, you know, when Twitter said 240 characters, it changed our world, right? Everything got to be, you've got to bring it down to a little digestible nugget. And then I'll pay attention to it. So I'm loving that more, especially Black-owned magazines are spinning out digital magazines as well as hard copies that are doing, I think, more with visuals and graphics and being able to showcase regular people, not just celebrities. I absolutely love that. So congratulations. Tanika, would you like to introduce yourself? And I love your middle name, and it's spelled correctly. So that's awesome.
Can you hear me fine?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Tanika Missouri, and turn the volume up so I can hear better. But my name is Tanika Missouri, and I recently started my company, which is called the Missouri Institute of Arts, which is a art institute for individuals who have a passion for writing, designing, makeup, film, any aspect of art, dance, music, voice, and all the art forms. My background is in several forms of art, and it started with writing. I started off with poetry, and I started off with a book of poems. Around 18, around 20, I published that first book of poems. Well, I binded it, and I didn't publish it until 24. So it took me a long time to think, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. It's important because people will hear it and they will keep on telling me, you need to write the book. So the first thing is really believing in yourself and knowing that what you have can answer someone's problems. It can help them be more successful. It can help them to have a peace of mind, or even drive their passion or their excitement for life. I'm also a doctoral student in clinical psychology. So I'm doing a lot of research and writing, and I'm happy to hear that many of you are in the mental health field. And the last thing I wanted to say was for marketing, you just really got to get yourself out there. Like you said, Michelle, you got to put your feet to work. And there's so many avenues. Every city and state has an author's workshop or a place in the library or somewhere where they have authors come together and do a showcase. And I've done it in at least 3 states because my ex-husband was military. And people seeing who you are and seeing that you're a real person and getting to connect with you goes a long way. And then by word of mouth, you know, they have other people, you need to read this book. Oh, I met this woman, she's awesome. Have her come speak at your place or whatever like that. And then also there's a lot of free resources. Here in California, we have a Women in Business Bureau where they help you to with all the marketing strategies you might need in order to fulfill that purpose. So I'm getting back to internet. I was hesitant with internet because I feel like there's so many people on internet, but then the thing is that everybody's not saying what you're saying. You know, even though there might be an element, you have a specific lived experience that other people have not tapped into, and that can help someone that no one else can reach. So no matter what you got to say, just go ahead and say it, because 20 years from now, you're going to say, God, I need you to bless me. He's going to say, I did. I gave you the gift. What you going to do with it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your comments. And, you know, there's so many different things that's been said already about marketing and the different ways that you need to look at yourself as a marketer. We're going to talk about a digital tool. And but I want to say this, and just to give a little bit of background about me, I'm the author of 2 self-published books. One is Christian fiction, one is family drama. And I published my last book last year, right before COVID, well, in the midst of COVID almost. And I started the Black Writers Workspace in March of 2020. We now have 10,000 followers, over 10,000 followers on Facebook alone. This has been an amazing experience for me because this is a real community of writers who are looking to help each other grow. We host virtual book fairs and workshops and roundtables. We have a newsletter. We do it all. And a lot of that is some of the work, just the collaboration on the page and trying to figure out what everyone needs in order to be successful. Because, like I mentioned before, 2,700 self-published books, and this is a bonkers ISBN number. 2,700 self-published books are dropped every day. So the competition is real, right? We know that when we put our books out there, we are competing with other authors. So we have to do things that are going to allow us to stand out. So before we get into our talk about blogs and e-newsletters, I do own a PR firm and a marketing firm. And I spent many years working in marketing. I was the marketing director for shopping centers. I made a big transition after 10 years of working in the shopping center industry to writing policy and creating programs for the state of Maryland. And then I became a full-time entrepreneur. I have PR Solutions, which is my PR firm. I Invest, which is a national youth competition for youth. For young business leaders. And then I have Life Skills. But I'm also going to be adding a new business, which is designed specifically for helping new and independent published authors promote their works online. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this is because of that 2,700 number. What it says to me, and Reggie, I'm going to start with you. What it says to me is that we have to use all the tools in the toolbox, all of them. So when we're talking about the tools that we have available to us, there are two sets. So of course, the paid tools, things that you can pay. You can always hire somebody. I see this a lot on the page. Oh, just hire somebody to do your social media. It's not cheap. I do social media management for people. I'm here to tell you it's not cheap. It's not cheap. But there are other tools like e-newsletters, like blogs. How have you used e-newsletters and blogs in order to promote your work? Reggie. Your volume is off.
Okay. When people, the first way I get my initial customers or my initial clients are those who purchase my books. As you know, Michelle, I have my own e-commerce platform. So every time someone purchases a book, I get all that critical information. And so subsequently, because they have been kind enough to purchase my book, one of the things that I want to do is every month I send out something to let them know that I'm living and that I still appreciate what they do. Sometimes things like, hey, if you get a chance, if you read the book, go back and if you can give me a review by, visiting the website. I drop critical information on their last month in August. I did a violence prevention or gun violence workshop in North Carolina that received quite a bit of publicity. So in my newsletter, I put that in to let them know, hey, I'm not just this stuff that I'm writing about in my book, I'm also living it. I also work in it. So just by putting that particular article into the newsletter that was placed in the paper, a lot of people responded back to me. And you talked about, I think that you said something about click rates, open rates, and things of that nature. You're looking at that to find out who's opening your page so that you can make sure that you pinpoint them and always make sure that you touch them in a special way. When I came out with my latest shirt, that's my latest shirt, I put that in there to let them know that shirt was available. I subsequently had several people who purchased the shirt. So the newsletter, the blog, what I do with the blog is I don't always write in the blog. Sometimes I'll find something that Michelle, I'm just using you as an example. Michelle may have wrote something that was like really just like dope, and I couldn't have said it any better. And I put that in my blog, and that brings them to Michelle. And then if Michelle knows it's bringing them to them, then I'm supporting her, and then she supports me. So I don't just use my blog to drop my voice. I use my blog also to uplift other ones, because again, when they are putting out powerful information, there's no need for you to say what someone has already said much better than you can say it. So my blogs are just talks a lot about the work that I do, and my newsletter just keeps people informed with what's going on.
Excellent. I'm going to try to put something up on the page to give a little definition behind blogs and newsletters, but if it won't show, I'll walk you through it. This is kind of over everybody's face, but what is an e-newsletter? It is an email you can send to customers to update them about your brand's latest products and services. You can also share valuable industry news or blog posts or inform them about your discounts and offers. So I'm going to start a little bit with the newsletters because we have a Black Writers Workspace newsletter that goes out. And a lot of authors may not know, but these things are not as hard to create, okay? The goal with your newsletter is for you to inform your particular target audience about things that you're doing. Now, as Reggie mentioned, he sends out his information to keep everyone aware. He's been at this event. It did very well. There may have been some articles posted about the event. He'll put those in his newsletter. Or if he's looking at an article, he thinks it's something he wants to share with his audience, then he'll put that in his newsletter. Now, you can create these newsletters using many different platforms that's available to you. I use Wix to do my newsletters, right? Or you can use what is it? Not the Survey Monkey. What is the
it is Survey Monkey. I think.
Okay,
MailChimp.
MailChimp. Okay.
Or a host of other platforms. And what your point is to just create a very clean messaging tool. That is, I like them to be short. I don't think that you need to have long articles. You may want to have a quick snippet of an article, and then you can put a read more, and it takes them to a longer article. And we have the Black Writers Workspace newsletter, and what we try to do with it is to find, one person from our page to highlight in the newsletter. Then we will find an article because everything is very topic driven. Okay, so last Thursday, we dropped a newsletter. The topic was cookbooks, how to write cookbooks. So we start off with a little blurb that comes from me, just letting people know what the newsletter is about. And then we have an article about cookbooks. So we had one about finding 27 cookbook writers. And then we have an article from Masterclass about how to write cookbooks. And I'm sorry, I'm going to mute everybody just to make sure. And then we will feature one of our cookbook writers from the Black Writers Workspace. And then we will have an events and activity section. Okay. Now, the key to this, and I'm going to stop here. I don't want to go to blogs. I want us to stop on newsletters, everybody. So these questions are going to be talking about newsletters. The key is you must have an email database to make the newsletter go. If you don't have anyone to send it to, if you don't have an email newsletter. So Elvenia, how have you collected email addresses in the past? Or do you have a cool way that you're collecting email addresses in the event that you are either sending out a newsletter or you're looking to send out one in the future?
Well, now I haven't been collecting email addresses, but now that I'm starting my Now that I'm starting my magazine.
You want to come back to you? We'll come back to you, okay? We understand, no problem. Anybody want to chime in on how you're collecting email addresses for your newsletters? Because this is important. It is very important. When you are setting in motion the process of using these digital tools, there are a lot of foundational things that you're going to need in order for it to be successful. Okay. I have people ask me all the time, I want to start a newsletter. What do I do? And the first thing I say is, do you have an email database? And they say no. So there's no one to send your newsletter to. So anybody want to chime in on how you're collecting your email addresses? Roana, we'll start with you.
Sure. So one thing that I would really suggest to everyone is to have a really strong lead magnet. And that's just a piece of content that you can offer your audience for absolutely free, just for signing up. you can figure out what your audience would be most particularly interested in getting. You can even survey them on social media. If you have like, an Instagram or a Twitter, just do a little poll, and then create a free piece of content. Like for my brand, since I'm centered on wellness, I have like kind of a self-care affirmation workbook that people get when they sign up. And I'm working on a new lead magnet since I am like now an author. It was just published in June. And that's going to be an ebook, a short ebook for people who are aspiring writers, bloggers, and things like that. So that's one thing I would definitely suggest, is to just develop something. So it's like, okay, what's your first name, last name, email address? You also get this X thing, special thing for signing up, and make that really appetizing to your audience.
Excellent idea. You can also put subscription links on your website to get people to subscribe. That is one good way. But I love the idea of lead magnets and giving something away. I worked in the mall industry for years. I can always tell you, you give us something and we will do a lot for you. A t-shirt will get people to do a whole bunch, y'all. So giving away something is always a good thing. Alvin, you want to chime in now?
Yes.
Okay.
So now that I have started my Women's Black magazine, I have been collecting emails through MailChimp, and I posted on my Instagrams and my social media all the time about, hey, don't forget about the magazine and things like that. And then I give away free things as well. So when they come to the site with the landing page, they'll subscribe. And then during my, Instagram, I always try to do a giveaway or something of that effect that gets them hyped up and ready for the magazine. Also gets them to want to go to the landing page to give me their email addresses. So in November, when we start, I have all these email addresses that I can send out newsletters saying, hey, the magazine is up, it's ready. Come read it, come check it out.
Excellent. Excellent. Anyone else? Reggie?
In talking about that lead magnet, I am a huge fan of Brene Brown. I just think that she's just a wonderful author, therapist, and so I was able to get my hands on a book that she wrote, the gifts of imperfection, and I was able to get a bunch of those books. And so, I guess about a week or so ago, I put that out as my lead magnet, and I just got crazy emails because people wanted that book, and the only thing they had to do is they had to pay for the postage, right? But I still was able to get a bunch of emails from that. But another way that I do this is that I'm a little challenging in terms of my thought process and in terms of things that I say. I work outside of the norm. So I put a post on your site that kind of got like 2 days worth of attention, but I also put one on my site that got a lot of attention. And what I did was I said, I just put a picture up, and I put that picture up and it started creating responses. And then what I did was I said, I need for you to put your email address in my message box because I'm going to write a blog on it. Mm-hmm. And I probably got about 30, 40 emails because people wanted to read what I had to say about it because I didn't say anything on the post. So that was a way that I, just using Facebook was a way I was able to get about 32 emails.
Yeah, you dropped that bomb on my page and started all that ruckus, and I'm around here having to moderate all this and make sure I don't see the F-bomb. And so it was really, but I appreciate it because, like I said, the whole premise of this conversation is about the fact that we are marketers, okay? And some people think that a marketer is someone who's an opportunist. Well, guess what? You have to kind of be an opportunist a little bit in order to get yourself out there. Not an opportunist in a way of you're hurting and stepping in and taking advantage of people, but taking advantage of opportunities that gives you the opportunity to connect with your audience, because we are all trying to pull in many ways from the same pool of people. So starting the Black Writers Workspace, what I do to collect email addresses is I have a question. Now, this is a private group, and I have a question coming in where people can opt in to get the newsletter. Very simple. Would you like the newsletter? And they give me their email addresses. So we've been able to collect thousands of email addresses that way. It lets people know that this newsletter is coming your way. You've already opted in for it. Now, the opt-in and not opting in, that's a big conversation, because there are some people who will say, just buy a list of email addresses. Why do I need to go through all that? Well, you need to go through it because you want people to approve and accept your email that's coming in, and not, push it through spam or feel that you are spamming them. And so getting them to opt in, knowing what they're going to receive from you once they you let them know you will get some type of marketing from me by providing your email address. It's just a fair way of doing it. Now, I'm a marketer, and I'm not going to sit and tell you that I haven't had clients where we just spam people. Don't tell anybody, to get the numbers up, because there are some people out there who want to receive it, who haven't, opt in because you didn't have that opt-in option. And they will either accept, subscribe, or not. Now, I would not advise anyone to do this now. This was back in the day before people really had an idea of how to collect these email addresses in just a better fashion. I would not advise anyone to do it now, because you can be reported. It can happen. So when we talk about e-newsletters, what is it that you want to see in an e-newsletter that's going to make you read it? And I always say this, a lot of people don't read anything but what's at the top, right? What's the first couple of things up there? But what grabs your attention about an e-newsletter? And Tanika, you want to take this question? What makes it appealing to you as a reader? And is there anything that you've learned as a writer of an e-newsletter that would be helpful?
I think you just really need to know your audience. And if you're authentic to that, then you'll get the people who you want to stay connected with. Because I've read newsletters and they're all over the place. So it'll be something about maybe building your brand, right? And then the person will go off topic and start adding other elements of their life, but that does not deal with the specific thing that I'm looking for, and it will totally push me away, But I think that she was building an audience who was invested in her life story, so she started to shift. So she took a lot of people with her, but lost a lot of people. Can you hear me now? So you have to be sure who your audience is and what you want to provoke in them, the kind of thoughts you want to illuminate, and then run with that. So when I'm looking for something to read, I'm looking for a specific topic. I'm doing a specific type of research, or I'm writing a specific book. Right now, I'm working with imposter syndrome, and I'm looking for newsletters or things that show me how people experience life and the kind of things that keep people from becoming their best selves, right? So when I'm doing that research, I'm looking for places or books already written that has to deal with that. And so I'm looking for keywords. So make sure those keywords, those bold letters, are something that people really can see, that are flashing. I want to hear testimonials of people who've already been there and understood the process, and they were successful in it. You know what I mean? Or they found the book. If I'm looking for a book, an author, I want to know that how other people experience the book, So I'll look for testimonials. And another thing I look for when I'm looking for that catches my eyes in a newsletter is the personality of the person writing. How can I engage with them? Do I relate to what they're saying? So that's basically what I look for in newsletters. I'm still presenting mine. I have a small blog on one of my websites, but I do a lot of research right now. That's the season I'm in. But I'm also writing a book and working on a second movie script. So for me, I need more of what you're giving, and so I appreciate you inviting me to this forum. But yeah, that's what I see. I see that we need to be more effective in creating these blogs and newsletters and being able to engage with marketing strategies.
I totally agree. I think something that we all have to think about as we look, and I've got a couple of questions coming in. I think they're for Reggie, one of them anyway. But one thing we have to realize is that we have to strategize around how to build the type of newsletter that's going to reach our audience, and we have to know our audience and the language that they can connect with. For instance, if Reggie's writing to men in their 20s. There's a way they talk to each other, Black men in their 20s. There's a dialogue. There is a way they connect with each other. He may not need to write some long piece. He may just need to start his thing off with, "Hey, bro," and just go from there. And the thing about a newsletter is that it can actually take on your personality, and it should, especially if the newsletter is about your book. Make sure that it's in line with what it is that your book is talking about, and that you're speaking the language in the right way, that you are thinking about who's reading it, what's going to be appealing to them. But Arvinia, if you're writing for mothers, we know a lot of mothers may not have time for long articles. So some things that I've seen just from some of the communication companies here in New Orleans that I really like. There is one company that started doing like 100-word articles, and you would pay them, and they had a huge following, but you would get a heading and there's a really tight 100-word piece on something, and it wouldn't even link to anything. But it was so well written until you literally understood where it was going, whether it was about a local event here. And so a lot of us in this industry are learning that the attention span is so short with so many people, until trying to write these long pieces and doesn't really go over with a lot of our target audiences. And so that's one of the things that I've noticed. So we had a couple of questions for Antoine Floyd. He wanted to thank all the panelists for being a part of the roundtable. Reggie, he wanted to know what's your website, if you want to give that to him right quick.
Two websites. It's reginaldwilliams.org, which speaks about my business as a behavioral health consultant. So it's reginaldwilliams.org. And then the other one is A Marginalized Voice, AMARGINALIZED voice.com.
Okay, great. And I did put the reginaldwilliams.org, and I'll put the other one in the chat box. He also wanted to know, he also made a comment that you can collect email addresses at live events when selling books.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. Now, I have clients who will constantly say, "Michelle, you always telling us to collect email addresses." That can be a little off-putting to people who don't want to ask. But I promise you, the more you can connect with your audience, the more times you engage them, the better. It increases the probability that they will do a couple of things. One, they will continue to support your work. Two, they will tell someone else about your work. And now they have something in their email, email inbox where they can just forward, right? I can just forward the newsletter to the next person. So collecting those email addresses are key. And I really hope that all of us, no matter whether we have an e-newsletter or not, that we are still collecting email addresses, because if you have a POS system, a point of sale on your website, it will automatically collect the email addresses of people who buy your books. So continuously sending things to them is key. Any other comments about e-newsletters? Anything that you like or don't like about the e-newsletters that you've seen in the past?
Well, let me just say this right quick. One, in terms of what attracts me, one is a very good heading, right? But then after the heading, the article has to coincide with the heading at some point. And then you talked about things being at the top, right? In journalism, we call that the inverted pyramid, right? Give me something that will make me go to the next paragraph. And as you said, our attention spans are short. Sometimes I'll look and, well, that's 700 words. I really don't have time right now to do 700 words, right? Even though you can read 700 words quickly, I don't have time. So there was something else I wanted to say, but that's what attracts me to a newsletter. A great heading that will draw me in, writing from an inverted pyramid format, and then having something that's going to make me go to the next paragraph. And okay, so now you drop something in the second paragraph that makes me want to go to the third paragraph. So keep giving me these nuggets that will make me, want to continue to read.
Absolutely. And we haven't talked about the fact of how do we create these newsletters. They're not very hard to create if you purchase, if you have a Wix account, a GoDaddy account, they will typically have an email marketing widget or type of widget that you can add to your particular program. You can use any other type of email marketing platform in order to get it out. You collect your email addresses, you drop them in to your contact list, and then you design the piece. If you're not someone who can do graphics, and I understand that, you may want to hire someone to do it for you, but it doesn't take as much as you think for those who are good with writing and who are good with graphic design. Now, we're all writers, so this shouldn't be as hard, but I know the graphic design piece can be from time to time. So I create the Black Writers Workspace newsletter every week. I will source all the information over about 2 days, and then I will sit down and create it it takes me about 4 hours. And that's 4 hours of getting it all where I want it to be, proofreading it, sending it to myself a couple of times to make sure it's laid out correctly. So once you do this, and once you have that database, and I stress that because I feel like that is the biggest piece to it, then sending it out, there are different success matrix that you want to look at. You want to make sure that there is a good open rate. So, Roana, I want to talk to you because I know you're sending out a newsletter for your magazine. What are you finding to be some of the challenges with getting people to open? Do you find that there are different topics that are more appealing to people? Because I noticed that about mine. So talk to us a little bit about your newsletter and what you've learned.
Well, for me, I do pay attention to the open rates, as well as like the subscriber rates and who came, who left, but I try not to focus on that too much, because I just believe as an author, you're out here doing the best you can every day. Listen to some of the tips that have been shared here, and in terms of, leading with an intriguing topic and sticking to the point, knowing your voice, knowing your audience and what they want to hear. So yeah, I understand the analytics aspect, but I feel like, maybe if you are like starting out on your journey and you're not quite as sure yet, that stuff can kind of like create anxiety and hold people back a bit. But yeah, and think about your favorite subscriber or the most loyal person on your list and just create for that person. For me, when I first started out, that was my sister, because she's my sister. And so we have like two sides of the same brain. So I'm like, if I send this out and she likes it, that means I'm doing something right. And that's like your target audience, your target customer. And one thing I enjoy in newsletters that I also try to emulate in my own newsletter is, I check in with people before I try to sell to you. Like I, acknowledge what's going on in the world, like what people might be feeling, what's going on, even in terms of, even with pop culture. Like the other day, man, I don't want to forget this dude's name, but a famous actor died. And a lot of people, Michael Williams, a lot of people were really in their feelings about that. And that's another thing. Like, I feel like for me, I understand the advice of like scheduling ahead, but you have to make sure that whatever you send out is like sensitive to the times, because you might be sending out this really like sunny email, like, oh, hey, what's up? And, you know, something tragic happened that day, and that's not where people's minds and hearts are at. Um, so yeah, just do your best. Do your best and continue telling people to join the mailing list. It's not annoying. This is your platform that you've created. If someone is choosing to subscribe to that platform, I feel like it's fairly reasonable to believe that they are not annoyed by you and they want to hear from you. Um, so yeah, just lead with confidence and you will get better along the way.
I love that. Lead with confidence. I love that. And I think you're absolutely right. Um, if you want to distinguish yourself as a thought leader, a newsletter is a great way to do it. It's like, using Reggie again as an example. If he's reaching out to young men, he's speaking their language, he's informing them, he's keeping them in the know. I 100% agree, Roana, that things need to be timely. And that's one of the reasons why I wait to the day of sending out my newsletter to send it out. Because if something happens that I think the Black Writers Workspace need to know about, whether it's in the publishing industry or just in the media in general, I want to be able to tackle that. I want to always appear or seem to be timely and considerate of what is happening around me. So that is really, really good advice. Now, newsletters are a great addition because also we're writers, okay? So this also helps us to better position our writing skills, to show it off in a different light as well. And some people are going to open them up and some people don't. I hear this all the time. No one opens up an email, something. I don't open up my email often. I think that's also an age thing. I don't know about you, but I work with young people and they will tell me, I don't even open my emails but once every 2 weeks, which is something that's my biggest pet peeve. And I'm like, okay, somebody's going to be giving you $1 million and you're going to miss it because you won't open up your emails. Now, that becomes a challenge when you're trying to do e-newsletters because some people won't see it. However, for the most part, I think most of us do see it, and we do pay attention to, I know for me, I pay a great deal of attention to the data, but I do agree with you, Roana, is that don't let the data keep you from creating a good newsletter and sending it out, because every week is different. What I've learned is, and I've got a little slide here, I wanted to show a little bit of the newsletter success rates, but some of the things that I've learned is when you're looking at success of your particular newsletter, for me, I always shoot for a 30% open rate. Now, the industry norm is around 20%. My click-through rate is about 5%. I rarely hit that, to be honest with you. Some of my posts don't have a click-through in them anyway, or many of them won't. Unsubscribing complaints rate, I don't really pay attention to that because I feel like it's an honest look at, if a person doesn't want to get the newsletter, then let them fall off. That's fine. That's just, to me, it shores up that your open rate will be more realistic when those people who don't want to get it anyway, already they fall out of that pool. I do look at the social media effect, which means when I send out a newsletter, I also post it on all the social media platforms for BWW. And then I don't pay a great deal of attention to the geographic reach, but it is something that can help you to learn more about where your particular audience is. Like, I know that the Black Writers Workspace with 10,000 followers, most of them come out of Atlanta. They come out of the Black cities. Common sense, right? Chicago, New York, DC, those where, but also there are a lot of different, people on the page from different countries. So learning where they're from can also help me in developing the content for my newsletter. So any other comments about newsletters? Any other things that you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share this with the analytics. I do look at the analytics because I'm always trying to find where I can be more successful at. But at the same time, I don't give a lot of weight to the analytics simply because, not that you shouldn't, but for me, I told you I do things differently. I'm always looking for that one, like that one thing, that one person, that one reader can always make the difference. And as you were talking, I just thought about two ones for me. There was an individual who had not even read my book, but somehow ended up on my newsletter, reached out to me about something that he was trying to do. And we had a conversation, right? So again, remember, this is not even a reader at this point. We ended up having a conversation. Subsequently from the conversation, he then buys the book, right? Then after buying the book, he ends up buying 10 more books that he sends to an organization in New York. The organization in New York gets the book and looks at it and says, I cannot read it now, but I want to read it and I want to work with you. And so my thing is always, as much as, where they're coming from, because you do want to tailor your information to where the information, where the data is pointing you. But my thought process is to never be swayed one way or the other by the data, but always, can I get that one? And that's what I'm always looking for, because that one is your tribe, and that one person in your tribe will get you 5 other people, and then those 5 other people will get you 5 other people. And I just look at doing things in small bites rather than trying to capture them in big bites.
Yeah, I love that. And the thing is, Reggie, is that where, we are as self-published authors, we don't always have a huge audience. You know what I'm saying? So if you're swayed solely by the numbers, then you may feel like, well, this isn't significant enough for me to really continue it. Let's say you have 50 people in your database and you're sending a letter out to 50 people. You may think, oh, this is so small, is it worth it? But as Reggie said, it's about that follow on. That's who they're going to send it to. Who else can see it in addition to them? So don't worry about, I've got only a small set of people in my database. Continue to grow it out and don't get swayed by the numbers, but pay attention, I think, to who is reading it, because you're going to see a pattern. I noticed that every time I put out a newsletter, I get the same few people who will open it. And I read into that probably too much, because these aren't other authors. These are large publications who open the newsletter. Now, they may not ever say anything. They may not ever contact me, but it tells me that they're paying attention to the Black Writers Workspace. And that means a lot. That helps me in understanding that the marketing is effective, because it is getting out there to a broader group of people, and that people are watching. They're paying attention to the things that we're doing. So that's just something to think about. We're going to talk about blogs next, but anybody want to, what have you learned, outside of just marketing? Because I've been learning a lot. We're going to kind of take a pivot. I've been learning a lot about writing over the last couple of last year as part of the Black Writers Workspace. I'm like a student of the Black Writers Workspace. Because I'm self-published, I'm still learning. I'm not someone who's on this screen saying, I've done it, I've sold, 50,000 copies. No, I'm not her. I do this because I learned so much from everyone. And the other day, there was a post on Twitter that I posted on the Black Writers Workspace. And I want to talk about that with this group, because I think it'll be a great lead in to just the next subject of, more marketing tools, but also an understanding this industry, this world of self-publishing. There was someone who posted on Twitter that an agent from a publishing house told them that they needed 50,000 followers on Twitter in order to get a traditional publishing deal. And so the person who posted this particular post wanted to know what is considered a lot of followers on social media to everyone. So for me, as Black Writers Workspace, I chimed in and said, with that in mind, the industry, in the future, our bookshelves are going to be filled with books by TikTokers, athletes, and celebrities. And what is that going to do to the literary world as a whole? Anybody want to chime in on this? Because it really set off another amazing conversation on the page, but it also speaks to the fact of how important it is for us as self-published authors to keep doing what we're doing, keep marketing ourselves, keep taking control, because I do not believe the traditional publishing world is making space for us. Okay? I just don't believe it. So anybody want to chime in on that?
I would. I believe this COVID era pushed us into a major shift. And because everybody has time at home, there's so many different pain points and problems that has resurrected, and so many opportunities that has resurrected as well for people who were not normally speaking to get engaged. So now, people are at home to watch movies. People are at home to write more. People are home to listen to the blogs and TikTok or social media accounts that we have. And even now, I have more people saying, Tanika, I don't know why you aren't viral by now, because you give this content, but it is by word of mouth. Like the more people you can get engaged with, the more people, the more numbers your numbers grow. And by the time you hit so many thousands, they actually pay you for the people that you bring to the platform. So I think that's why a lot of people say the more numbers, the more effective it is, because there's so much that is connected to the numbers. How much you get paid, how many people are being led to your site and your platform. And so there are a lot of things that people are doing that are not successful. I mean, that are making them successful, but that are probably not the best ways. There are so many groups that they go and they say, okay, I need you to follow me so that I can increase my numbers so that I can be seen. But I agree with Reginald. It's more important to connect with the people who are saying, or who are needing what you need to say, and but the followers in this generation is what's important, because they elevate you in the eye of the public. So if you do get 20,000 followers, there are people who are on TikTok who are like so unknown. Even little kids now doing YouTube accounts who have like millions of followers, and it doesn't take much. It just means that you grab the right attention. So, but the platform is out there for anybody to use. If you get your voice out there, people will listen. You just take you to one person to hear what you got to say, and it touched them in a way that makes them want to bring other people and lead them to the tribe, and that's what they're kind of calling them, your tribe, your nation.
But do we run the risk of cheapening literature by connecting it to social media followers? I understand from the publisher's perspective, it makes complete sense. It's about money. You've got 50,000 followers and 1% of them are converted to buyers. Your conversion rate is 1%. That's 500 people. You sell a $20 book to 500 people, they've made back some of the investment they're going to give to you in a deal. I get it from their perspective, absolutely. But it just bothers me because it feels like our publishing industry is really becoming lazy. They don't want to go out and find the good work. They're just saying, hey, you got 50K followers, 1 million followers, we can work with you. Well, of course, but is it good work? And do we run the risk of cheapening literature this way? Any comments, anyone?
I can speak on that. So let's see. So I've been able to see the publishing industry from many perspectives. When I first graduated from college, I would intern with like different literary agencies, and I ended up working with literary scouting firms where I was working with YA books and seeing, if foreign publishers wanted to publish the book or send it to movie studios and things like that. and it kind of gives you a different perspective. I think for fiction, a lot of fiction writers kind of start off like lower profile. I think when you look at nonfiction, they want like the celebrity story or like someone that's kind of like already established. But one thing I would say, which affected me when I was kind of like weighing which route I wanted to go with my book, is let me see how to put this. So the major benefit of going with like a traditional publishing house or a big publishing house will definitely be that they already have a marketing department. They already have a structure set up to make sure that your book gets out there to the world. Even you were talking about TikTokers and bookstagrammers and all these people. A lot of times publishing companies pay these folks to, promote books. I've gotten books from publishing companies, like, just take a picture. And I don't even have like a huge following, but they know that I'm tapped into a lot of Black women writers, and they're finally beginning to realize that we read a lot. But there is still that wall, like you were saying, in terms of our voices being published in mainstream publishing. I see a lot of great things happening with that, but not enough and not fast enough. So that's why, I definitely encourage people to learn the ways of self-publishing and think beyond the first book. Like, even if you don't do it like perfectly the first time, at least 95% of everything to do now, and you can get better and better and keep growing your following. Because I do think that that's kind of, I understand what you mean about kind of like worrying about the state of literature. Like, there was one book that came out this summer that, it was kind of marketed as like the Black woman book, right? And a lot of people were like covering this book, and they're like, you would read a review that said one thing, but then you'd read the book and feel another way or think another thing, right? And so I had to like even remind people, like, remember, deals are being made with like a lot of these publishing companies that have a lot more money to throw around to buy that influence. But yeah, I think for self-published authors, I would definitely just recommend, grinding with the audience that you have, continuing to grow, continuing to, when Tanika was talking about in-person events. With COVID, that has drawn back, but even last night, I was able to go to an open mic night at a Black-owned bookstore. Black woman-owned bookstore. Yes, Adon Books in Brooklyn. Check them out. And, I was able to give her some copies of my book to be in the bookstore. And then, maybe you can do a reading, you can do a book signing. I would say everything in this, and I think one of the reasons why I feel that I have been successful, like in my endeavors, is it's all about building relationships. And that's from blogs to newsletters to social media to everything. It's like making sure you can make as many people as possible feel seen and heard. And that's the authentic way to do it. So just let that be encouragement to all of the indie authors out there trying to make their mark. Your people are definitely out there.
I totally agree. They are definitely out there. And we should keep doing what we're doing. I think when I read the post, what I felt was we're doing the right thing. We're moving in the right direction. We don't have to, many of us would love a traditional deal. Great. Give me a big check. That would be excellent, right? But the reality is that it's so much competition and the market is very saturated, and publishing houses are looking at the numbers, and all that is fine, but we have an avenue, we have self-publishing, and let's own it, and celebrate it and keep moving forward and keep engaging people. Don't feel, because there are still people who are hesitant about self-publishing because they feel like it doesn't get the credibility or the notoriety of traditional published books. Of course, that happens. We get that. The marketing machine is there. It's real. It works when it comes to these big publishing houses, but it should not keep you from moving forward. And if you don't have 50,000 followers, that shouldn't keep you from moving forward as well, because that is not an easy thing to do. It may be a little bit easier on TikTok with the younger generations. I mean, my son has thousands of followers too, but it doesn't always translate that way with other platforms. I do social media marketing for people. Going viral is very hard, everybody, and costly. So those are the things that I love what everyone is saying. And I think it's a good lead in also to us talking about blogs and that building the relationship. And so some people may say, what's the difference? You've got the newsletters. Yes, that's where you can put in more of the more information about what you're doing, articles. I love what Reggie said. You can, and we do this. We add articles from other magazines in our newsletter. There's nothing wrong with that. I just think you should always give them, source it, let people know that who the source is, who the writer is. Don't make it appear that you wrote the article. And I always link it to the article. I don't try to post it all. So those are things that you can do. However, in my newsletters, if the article is over 2 years old, I will not use it. I like things to be very timely, but that's how I like to do it. But when it comes to blogs, something I want to focus in on when it comes to blogs is that a blog is another website or web page. Some people will have a blog and not a website because of all the material and information you can put in there. It is an informal way of communicating with your particular audience. But one of the things that I think is important to know about a blog is that it has really good rankings on Google. And a lot of people may not know that. But when you're blogging, those blogs, depending on if it's WordPress, which most of them probably will be, or it could be Wix, it can be Squarespace. There are many different platforms, but it's a great way to get your work the type of attention that it needs and to get a higher ranking on Google. Anybody, do all three of you have blogs? Tell me what you write about, Reggie.
Well, I've been negligent on my blog for a minute, and the reason being is, and this is still an excuse. As you know, Michelle, I had some situations with my family, with my brother, dealing with cancer, and so I, it was just kind of taking a lot of my attention. But when I do write, I'm writing about stuff that deals with behavioral health or behavioral type situations, cognitive. I'm not quite sure. I think the last post that I wrote was about the young lady who was shot in Columbus, Ohio by the police officer. And so those are the types of things that I write about in those blogs. And I always give somewhat of a very different perspective, simply because I just think I see things a little differently. And but it's a way to, my purpose with that blog is to let people know who I am in the field of behavioral health, somewhat how I think, which sometimes can be controversial. Sometimes it can put people off, and it's not my intention to put people off, but at the same time, it's not my intention to pander to the crowd. Anytime that you're trying to do something, or anytime you have a mindset that is somewhat different from everyone else, and I hope that doesn't sound elitist. Please, I hope it doesn't, right? But when you kind of see things from a different light, sometimes that can be off-putting. But again, the name of my book is A Marginalized Voice, and I just refuse to be marginalized in my voice.
But I think that's what blogs are for. I think blogs are that one place where you can voice your opinion. It's your opinion about different things. So I blog on, I have two blogs, First Morning Thoughts, and one for my company, PR News Biz, where I highlight what's happening with my clients. But my First Morning Thoughts is, I may drop some poetry in there. I may tackle an issue. I remember writing about George Floyd. I wrote a piece. Well, actually, we did a collaborative piece on Black Writers Workspace a couple of weeks ago called Why Black Writers Matter. and we had different people from the page to chime in. I posted that on my blog as well as on medium.com. I do have those. We can talk a little bit about Medium. I think that's a great new resource. These are areas where your opinion can go out. Everyone is not going to like it. Everyone's not going to agree. But that's what's so amazing about a good blog. A good blog is that if I've got to read it and just read something that the opinion of the masses, that doesn't speak to me. But reading it and getting Reggie's take on something means a great deal more. Ladies, what are your comments about blogging and your blogs?
Well, I used to blog a lot. I'm looking for starting a blog page, because on my social media platform, I talk about everything. I talk about parenting styles that work. And in that, I talk about me and my daughter. I have older children who are like in their 20s, and then I have a 10-year-old. And just how it's so different to raise a child when you know better, right? So people are struggling with raising their children. So I'll blog about our conversations. Right. So we've talked about things like fairness. What did it mean to be fair when she felt like something wasn't fair? And we talked about sometimes fairness is not about whether you're doing something right or wrong. Sometimes it's about somebody pulling the best out of you. You know, they're not doing it as punishment. They're doing it for your good. And she took that and she went back to school with a whole different mindset, not feeling hurt by it, but willing to go the extra mile to get the privilege that she was looking for. Yesterday, it was about no excuses. What does excuse mean to you? She said me and her teacher told her the same thing about responsibility, not forgetting. And she said, but Mom, excuses are a normal humanistic. She's 10, Mom. Human is a normal human error. That's what she told me. And I said, not excuses. She said, forgetting. Forgetting is a normal human error. And so I know, but when we make excuses, it keeps us from getting better. And so I said, do you know what excuses mean? She said, yeah, it means that I'm trying to make a reason for not doing what I want to do, trying to get out of getting in trouble. And I said, okay, well then what can we do to make it better? So we went from there to putting that on Facebook, our conversations. And it's helped a lot of people, you know, to say, okay, if I talk to my kids about these topics, then maybe they'll have a better understanding and learn how to interpret that in a way that gives them a more effective way of living. And I remember we were talking about emotions and self-regulation. And so just if we as an adult can regulate ourselves, it teaches them. But when we go off in all tangent and crazy and upset, then it teaches them that that's an okay way to respond. So that's one of my topics. I talk about self-care. I try to be motivational. I'll talk about spiritual things and influences. So I'm trying to find a way to take what I've learned through my lived experiences and help as many people as possible. But I'm trying to find the right avenue to do that.
That's excellent. I have a quick example of what a blog is, and it's exactly what Reggie and Tanika was talking about. And we've lost Alvinia and Roana. They both had to leave. But we're going to continue on for a few more minutes to talk about blogs. But something I do love the idea of a blog. It is a regularly updated website or web page, typically one run by an individual or small group that is written in an informal and conversational style. It is used to help your company rank on search engines, to share information about a given topic, and to attract visitors to your site and turn those visitors into leads. Once again, we are marketers. We are constantly looking for ways to connect with our audience, to engage them, to drive traffic to our websites, to drive traffic to our book pages so they can buy the books. And what better way than to use your voice, because they buy your book to hear your voice. So now, as Reginald was saying, he may have opinions that some people like, some people don't like, but that's what makes him a great writer. If you are writing and saying the same thing that everybody else is saying, you're not standing out. And so, Tanika, and what you're doing as well, you're inspiring people, you're informing young people, you're talking about issues that are important, but you're giving them your spin on it, your life, your lived experiences. And that's what's so great about a blog. Now, there are many ways that you can create a blog. And here's a couple of them, some of your getting started tools. You're going to pick a domain name and you're going to see if it's available. So you're going to go through a lot of the same steps that you would go through with a website. You need a domain name. And if it's not available, you have to find another one. You're going to purchase a hosting platform. A lot of people use WordPress, Wix, Medium.com, Squarespace, and there are others. You're going to choose a theme or a blog header, something that's appealing. And you can also use the templates that are available to you. So it's not as hard because you can kind of pick a template and it'll lay it out for you. And then you're going to write your blog pages. Now, there are other things that you want to do, but we're going to stop right there on writing your blog pages because it is a blog and it is your opinion and you can write it in a conversational way, but you still need to make sure it's well written, right? That's still important. People are still going to expect for you to utilize writing techniques and tools. They're going to expect for you to get it edited or to make sure it is edited. If you want to use Grammarly, that's one way of doing it. I typically try to keep my blog posts between no more than 500 to 700 words. If I can go shorter, smaller, I do. I think I can get more of them done if I can do them a little bit shorter than that. But the thing is that what I love about the blog, once again, when I blog about my things I'm doing with my clients, like for a couple of weeks ago, I had a client who was a young man who was unfortunately murdered here in New Orleans. He had started a beverage company called Element Beverage, and his family put on a music festival in his name. When I write a blog about that event, it's at the top of the Google ranking. When I put in my name or that event, it pops up. Now, I don't know if someone can give me a little bit more insight of why that is the case, why my website wouldn't pop up before a blog post, but it does allow you to get a higher ranking. Do you guys, Reggie, have you found that to be the case with some of yours?
I've had that happen a time or two. The SEOs and all that, it's just above my head, but it is strange that those things will pop up before your website will pop up. I know for me, at least this is what I believe. I could be really wrong. I have a very common name, Reginald Williams. So, I have to compete, with a couple of professional athletes. I have to compete with I know one time a lady asked me, are you that pastor? And I don't know where the pastor was located, who committed all that fraud. They're like, no, that's not me. So my name has to compete with a lot of other Reginald Williams, but I have had that situations where my article was higher than my website.
Absolutely. And I'm Michelle Jackson and my maiden name is Smith. So guess what? It was probably like 5 of us in every class, it seemed like, when I was in college. Yeah. So I have that same challenge. And that's why things like blogs can help, because that heightened SEO is a great way to drive traffic to your website. So if you have a website and you have a blog on it, make sure that you're doing a couple of things. One, once you write your blog, you need a good header, you need a good headline, but you also want to tag every one of your blog posts. There should be an area where you can tag them, whether you're on Medium, WordPress, Wix. And what that tag is, it also helps to draw people in by allowing your SEO to position you higher on the screen. So if you're writing about, gun violence, then you're going to tag it gun violence. You may want to tag it with your book name, because every time someone put in marginalized, it's gonna show up. So these are just some really cool, unique ways to do it. And it's really cost effective. If you already have a website, typically, if you didn't get your website designed by some company who's going to charge you $1,500 to add a blog, which I have worked with many that will. If you have one that has a template, it typically will allow you to add a blog page. So utilize that as much as you possibly can. I have a youth entrepreneurship program, and every class of kids that come through my program is all web-based, but we do a profile piece on them as they build their companies. My profile pieces have been seen by probably over 50 to 60,000 people. Because what happens when these young people, they create a product, and many of the products that they've created have gone on to become multi-million-dollar, businesses. But as they grow, people go back to that profile because it's their start. So now if they're being highlighted on TV or something like that, people go back to that original profile. And because it has such good ranking on Google, when you put in their name, it pops up higher on the Google rank. And so those are the types of things that I had to learn. I was like, you know what? This is well worth it. Blogging is a great tool to use. It's not easy. And I'm with you, Reggie. I'm not consistent as I should be, but I'm working on it. But I do, and I have seen the impact of it. I think we have a comment to come in. Antoine, he said, let's see, he did post a helpful tool for newsletters. Say, I had that issue too, so I added sir. He was talking to you, Reginald, to my last, senior, to my last name, because there were a bunch of Antoine Floyds out there. So these are the types of unique things that you run into when you're on a digital platform, even for social media. I don't know about you guys, but Michelle Jackson, you put in Michelle Jackson on Facebook, and it's a ton of them. And so, I wish my name was a bit more unique. It'll be easier to tag me, but a lot of people can't find me to tag me. So keep that in mind.
Check this out, Michelle. My wife hasn't done a third of what I've done content-wise, but her name is Peachy Pleasance. This is that's her given name on her birth certificate. And so because that name is so unique, stuff will pop up.
Those are the types of things when you're putting a book out there, understanding. I know a lot of people say I'm not technical, I don't really understand all these things. It is so well worth getting a book or talking to someone about, because your name, how unique your name is, how unique your URL and your domain name can be. When it comes to books, and this is something I would, some advice I just wanted to give, is that when it comes to picking your website domain name, let it connect to your book. Let it connect to you. I wouldn't always connect it to the book sometimes, because you may write 5 books and you don't want the domain name to be under one book's name. That can happen. However, like for mine, it's authormichellegjackson.com. What's very tough for people like me who are always looking to promote, different writers and our newsletters and different things like that, is when your URL, your Facebook name, everything is different. So the lack of consistency sends me on a wild goose chase trying to find you. And it really, if I'm someone who's looking because I want to promote you, but what happens when a reader is trying to find you and your book is one thing and this URL is another thing, because now you're promoting your life coach, company, or this company, or that. Make sure that your brand stays really solid and consistent with your URL, your Facebook, your social media names, and everything. If you can do that, please do that, because it really does create more work. And we are a one-click nation. Trust me. That's why they tell you when you have a website, people are not going to click 5 or 6 times on your website. They're going to go to your site and they're going to click where they want to go. If they got to click, you're going to lose them. So that's something to think about. So everybody, we've had a great conversation, and I wanted to end with Reggie and Tanika leaving some words of encouragement to our writers. I know this was a much more technical session. We normally talk about things that are, just about writing in general, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about marketing, because I get a lot of questions about how to do e-newsletters, how to do blogs. I know that we're all trying to figure out how to market ourselves. I posted an article just this morning about the fact that the book printing industry is so delayed, and that a lot of us are going to have a hard time getting our books. If you're looking to get a hard copy or softback book between now and Christmas. So what does that say to me? I know what Reggie's going to say, sell your books yourself, right? Exactly. 100%. Order your own books, sell them off your own website. That way you don't have to worry about Amazon taking an extra 2 weeks to get your book out. You'll have it when people order it, you can put it in the mail. But the fact that we have all these issues with shipping, printing, there's just a lot happening, for a number of reasons, whether it's COVID or weather problems, money, finances with these companies, because a lot of these books are printed in China. And so to get them here is becoming harder and harder. So think about what you're doing, how you're promoting yourself, and taking a lot more ownership in how you're getting your books out there. And that's going to be key. So Reggie and Tanika, thank you so much for being a part. You want to leave some parting words for our new and aspiring writers?
When I right before I published my book, there's a guy I was on a committee with who stated that he had written 4 books. I don't know how successful he was, whatever successful is, but I asked him, I said, give me some post-published advice. And the thing that he said to me was, you should start out thinking that it's going to take 3 years for your book to pop. Now, for me, I took that information as valuable information, because what it told me is I was going to have to work that thing on a daily basis. And again, I told you earlier, one of the things that I attempt to do is, as much as I would like to have 100,000 people come in and buy my book, I am trying to build my tribe, one customer, one reader at a time. And I feel like if I continue to do that consistently in that 3-year period, I will have accumulated a tribe of people who will not only love the first book, but the second book is already written. I haven't published it yet, but again, this is about building a movement. And it's not, while it is about writing a book, it's also about the upliftment of young Black boys. So, whatever you do, just try to build your tribe, and your tribe will be 20. It'll start out with 1, it'll grow to 5, it'll grow to 25, it'll grow to 100. But again, when you get that good tribe, they'll start working for you. And I have people who I never knew who purchased my book, who contacted me through my newsletter, and they're doing work for me. And I just love it. So just be confident in what you're doing and continue to be consistent in it. And don't worry about the analytics that says it's not working, because what I always say is, when you plant a seed, it grows down first. And so because it's growing down, you think there's no growth happening, but there really is. And eventually, after it grows down and catches root, then it will grow up.
Excellent. Love it. Thank you so much, Reginald. I'm sorry.
I love what you said, Reginald. I posted about that recently on Facebook, about how the tree, how it grows down, and how it spreads out and it takes root. And it grows not only up, but in other directions. That's right. New trees come up. That's right. That's how our tribe grows. And so, I'm sorry. What I wanted to say is, stay authentic. Stay true to yourself and to what you believe, because that's what people need to see. They need to see your transparency. And there's not one way to skin the cat. It's a both and theory. Use every platform, everything you can to bring the resources that you need to you, because every day is going to be a new learning process. You're going to learn new techniques. You might have learned some new things that you can bring to the roundtable next time that nobody know about, that can benefit and further what writers and readers need to do in order to come up to this new age that we're going into, because there's about to be another shift, a new shift. And it's time for new people to rise up and take their place in this realm of writing, and because every generation brought something new, and so be ready to bring what you have in the table. What's important. Don't hold on to it. Also, that the world is at your fingertips. There's no limits. There's no boundaries, only the ones that you place on yourself. So be prepared to show up, because there are people waiting on you. There are people waiting to hear what you have to say, and just be authentic.
Excellent.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Reggie and Tanika. You know, Tanika, it's your first time on. I really do welcome you back to participate. And for those of you who are wondering, how do you participate with the Pen Posse? It's free. Just sign we've got a little survey. And then we can send you the links and let you know what the topic is. And we do host these we're trying to host them every month, every third Saturday. Tanika, thank you so much for all of your insight. And Reggie, as always, thank you for your insight as well. You had something to say?
I have to. I always have to say this. Like, Michelle is a godsend. Like, if you don't know a story, you'll learn it. But what she's doing with Black Writers Workspace is phenomenal. And I just feel honored and blessed that she thinks enough of me to have me on there. And she gives me a platform. And so, right now she says she has 10,000. I see this growing to 100,000. She's building that tribe. And I just want to thank you. I really just want to thank you.
Thank you so much, Reggie. And Reggie, you're going to be shocked, but in a couple of months, I'm going to be releasing a new business opportunity that will help self-published authors. And it was really something that you inspired. So I'm just going to say that we've had many, many conversations, and Reggie is such a great guy who's been with us and has worked with us on our workshops and roundtables and just a host of other things. So thank you so much for your kind words. I'm going to take you two off the screen, but I don't want you to go anywhere so that I can say a form of farewell. I just wanted to say goodbye to the group. So hold on for 1 second. So thank you so much, both of you, for being a part of the Pen Posse. And hopefully we'll see you next month. Hold on. So everyone, this was our Pen Posse Roundtable. We haven't had one in a couple of months because of other things that we're working on. I'm so happy that we can continue to do this. And I hope that all of you will be a part of our future Pen Posse Roundtables. There are so many things that we are doing on the Black Writers Workspace that you can get involved in. And I just want to very quickly go down the list because I don't know if everyone knows about these things. But first, you can have your book featured in our weekly newsletter that goes out to over 3,500 people. There is a survey on the page. You fill out the survey. If your book is within the genre that we're highlighting that week, we will add you to our newsletter. This is free of charge. You can also be a part of Pen Posse by filling out a survey that is also on the Black Writers Workspace page. If you don't see it, just send me an email at events@prsolutions.org, and I'll be sure to drop that in the comment area as well. We have hosted virtual book fairs and workshops, and we're going to be having more of those workshops in the coming months. We also have our now book haul where we are celebrating our writers by trying to get as many readers to buy a book over a 1-week course. So we're trying to haul away all the books of a particular author. And we have a survey if you're interested in participating in the book haul. And we have the first one going on right now by, I think it is Antoine Floyd, who's been asking all the questions. We're doing a book haul for him, and that information is pinned to the top of our Facebook page as well. We have the Chapter 1 writing competition that we're going to be kicking off again in a couple of months, and just a host of different things that are inspired by our need to share resources and stay connected to each other. I am so grateful to know that this has gone from literally 15, 16 writers to over 10,000 in less than 2 years. I had a goal of hitting 10,000 by March of 2022. We hit it by September of 2021. So thank you so much for all the work that you're doing. Please stay in contact with me if you want to learn more about even our advertising opportunities. Once again, you can reach me at events@prsolutions.llc.org. Take care.